I'm very excited about today's video. We are going to clean out the violas that we have here. We have a few different projects that I want to get done today. But the first thing is I do want to clean out this container of violas here. Now in this area here I have a hydrangea tree. We recently came in, we planted up our fountain urn here, and then in addition to planting up the fountain urn, we also planted up the containers that's in the forefront here. But now we need to kind of address this area right here. We'll just go in and we'll start cleaning out the container. I have my bucket here that I use for cleaning out everything. So we'll just go in and we'll get the top layer out. For our first container, and I might have to end up scooting this out a bit, or just a little bit, because it's going to be competing. And I know you all can see like the little roly-polies here. We're going to sit this right here. Okay, so we'll clean up the container a little bit. Here we have our plants, and we also have our amendments that we're going to be using for these containers. Every single year I plant up the apple blossom geraniums here. They're absolutely beautiful and easy to start from seed. So we're going to do a scoop of the slow release fertilizer like so. A little bit more. Then we're also going to do some Biotone starter fertilizer to help with potential transplant shock. Just a little bit. We're going to mix this in together. So we're going to lean out a bit. And then one in the top. These are going to fill out, they're going to get bigger. Normally when I plant up my geraniums, they are a lot bigger than these, but they've also been started sooner in the season. Now for the pot up underneath, we are not going to plant that up with geraniums because I have a lady who's coming to look at these geraniums. She wants to see if they're the same color because she's going to purchase the rest of my geraniums that I had allotted for this area. So that's where a plan B will come in and kick in. So I had planned to come in and have just a beautiful container of just geraniums here, and then geraniums on the other side as well. But if she purchases those, baby, we got to part ways, and then I'll just have this one container, and then I'll do an alternative with the other container. So she is supposed to be coming over today or tomorrow. Now, she just came over last week and she bought all of my Lysianthus that I started from seed, and I could not turn down the offer that she made for me. That's when she was able to see the geraniums that I started from seed, and she wanted to buy them right then and there on the spot, but she wanted to see if the pink that she had at home, if this will actually go. So when she comes back, she's going to bring a flower to see if she can coordinate it. If that happens, baby, I'm letting all them geraniums go. Do you hear me? I don't think you hear me. Let me say it again louder for the people in the back. If when she comes to look up the geraniums, if the geraniums match her color scheme and they will fit in, baby, all them geraniums will go. And quiet as kept, if she see this container and she need these geraniums, these 7, then she can have these as well. Bloop, bloop. For light requirements with your geraniums are going to like a full sun to part sun type situation. They will perform better in full sun, but if all you have is about 4 to 5 hours worth of sunlight, go for it, and they will definitely perform beautifully for you. Geraniums are very easy to care for, but you do want to make sure you keep them consistently fed. So going in, I use a slow release fertilizer. That way I know my fertilizer is going to feed anywhere from 2 to 6 months, depending on what type of slow release fertilizer that you're using. And then I also come in and I give it that instant fertilizer. So think of that instant fertilizer as your coffee. So you're going to go in and you're going to recharge it, because in order to put on these beautiful blooms, they are going to have the energy, the strength, and the food in order to do it. So just like sometimes I'm tired, I need a recharge, so I need either some tea or some coffee. If you drink energy drinks, I don't know if you do, but maybe you drink an energy drink to pick you up. But that is the same way your plants are going to want to perform. And one thing that I always say about your geraniums, in order to keep your geraniums looking absolutely 100%, you want to make sure your watering is on point. You're not overwatering them. You want to make sure that you're feeding your geraniums the soil, and I just used soil that I had in there. So I didn't go in and give them any fresh soil. And you also want to make sure that you're feeding them properly in your light requirements. If you do those few things when you're dealing with geraniums, you will have a show on your hand. Now, as far as pest problems, now geraniums are not pest free. Geraniums suffer from budworm. So going in and using that BT, I spray my supertunias. I also go in and I like to hit my geraniums, and I'm telling you, I have a beautiful show every year with geraniums in my garden, and they're just amazing. They're beautiful. They're very inexpensive, very easy to start from seed. And let's go ahead and let's clean out these containers. This will be the next container that we're going to work on. So I have a bunch of geranium blooms, and they're in different stages, different phases. What we want to do is deadhead these blooms here. I'll show you what it's looking like up close. One would think that you could come in and kind of just take off what has been messed up by the rain. So for example, if you see here, it looks like you can just take the spent blooms, but that's not what you want to do. You want to follow it all the way down, and you want to just take that off. Take this whole thing off, and it's only going to reward you. We have quite a few that need to be deadheaded, but it's only going to make the arrangement look even prettier, get more floriferous, and just bloom out for us. And that's exactly what we want. So holding on to these few little blooms, which they're, I mean, one could go in and clean up the plant like that, but for me, I like to have major impact. So I feel like the best practice is to go in and just clean everything off. So we'll keep knocking these off And it's going to look better once we get finished. Trust me, it will. So really simple. Again, this should take us no time to do. This is our final product, and it'll bloom out in no time. See, it's buds all over the place. Buds, 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 buds. I love that. So our next round will be even better than the first, especially once it starts to heat up. Finished deadheading the container. Now I need to water this container right here. Now, in order to have success with your geraniums, you want to make sure that you're keeping them watered, but you don't need to overwater them. And actually, it's quite okay to let your geraniums dry down sometimes and then come back and then water them again. So we'll just go in. We're going to do just a light watering. And with your geraniums, it's better to water them deep than those superficial watering. So we're going to water this in really, really well. I can't wait till it take off. Here's a look overhead at the geraniums and what they look like. So pretty soon these are going to be very full, and they're definitely going to take off. I am going to give them a little bit more watering here. So very deep for that first initial watering. Finish watering. Now I want to treat a shrub that I'm having problems with chlorosis with. Actually, we have it every single year. Here we have a big, huge my-pet hydrangea. Now this hydrangea gets morning sun, and it gets a little bit of break, and then it gets some afternoon sun as well. But in the St. Louis region, our weather here is very extremely hot. It's humid. It is just awful sometimes to deal with. Kind of like, have you ever been to Georgia and you go to Atlanta and you experience the humidity there? If you're not used to it, it kind of feels like you have a wet blanket on top of you in the summertime. And that's a wet comforter, if that makes sense. I mean the expensive thick one, but let's get back to what we was talking about. Now, with this hydrangea and any hydrangeas, especially the big head type, they're going to be heavy feeders. So what I like to do as a regimen, I like to come in, I like to use and top dress with some type of compost. I also like to use my fish fertilizer. I also like to use my soil acidifier. I'll use alkaline additives to take the soil more to the alkaline color. Those come into play when I'm working with the color and changing the colors and things of that nature. But also, in addition to doing all of that, I also have to come in and I also have to give them a round of iron. Now, you might be thinking, girl, forget the iron, honey. You need to go and get the closest water hose and put a water hose on this thing. But this is actually normal behavior for a mop-head hydrangea. It's totally normal and fine for you to come out around this time of the day and actually see it droop down like this. Now, am I going to go run and get the water hose? That's not going to happen because it'll actually stress your plant out more. So it's the normal behavior of the plant. This is the plant climbing down. This is the plant cooling down, and this is what it does. And by the afternoon, it'll actually be perked right back up. What I do want to focus on right now is our application of iron. Now I have here some iron tone here, and this is what we're going to be using. Now you don't necessarily have to use the Espoma brand. This is what I have access to. So for any of my fertilizers, when it comes down to what I use, it all depends on what I can get my hand on at that time. If I'm able to find the individual components that I need, then I make my own fertilizer. But for things like the iron, it doesn't matter what brand I use. I come in and I use the iron and I treat my hydrangeas. Now, when you're using your iron supplements, and I'll get in and I'll show you all what the iron deficiency looks like. If you can see here, you're able to see the yellowing coming through. This is a classic example of chlorosis. So in order to fix this, what I typically do is I'll go in and I will give it a little bit of compost. For today, we're only going to do the iron tone only. You can see that it's not on every single leaf because here's a beautiful big leaf. I just love these leaves. This one is bigger than the size of my hand. I just love them. I just love the big leaf hydrangea. I mean, just the characteristics of it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, it's not on all of the leaves, but it is on some of the leaves. Now, for this, my pet hydrangea is not blooming yet. And actually, I wouldn't be upset if it didn't bloom, because if you all have been following my channel for a while, you know that on the years that my pet does not bloom, I cut. And I take cuttings of hydrangeas and I multiply and I multiply, and that is how I get prepared for my show for the next season. Because although I may take more cuttings from the pink plant or from my blue plant, these are my mother plants here, I can change them to be any type of color that I want them to be, from the deep purple all the way down to that very intense blue. I'm telling you, it's so simple and it's so easy to actually do here. So I love these leaves, and I don't mind when I have seasons where they don't bloom. I really don't mind. It doesn't bother me. So we'll get in, we'll do an application here of the iron tone, and then I'll just let it sit, and then I'll come in and we'll water it later on in the afternoon, okay? And then you'll be able to see the leaves standing up on this hydrangea. Just like this, around that drip line. I went ahead and I watered in the hydrangea, the iron that we just put around the hydrangea, because we're getting ready to make a quick run to Home Depot. I'll tell you about that later, honey. Good. It's good, okay? So I went ahead and watered everything in because I did not want to come back, even though I knew the hydrangea would be standing up, and not remember to water it in. So it's just like it's going to take longer for it to soak down in the tree, to soak everything up. So now let me tell you what's going on here, okay? Because y'all gonna love this. Y'all gonna love this. First, the violas that I pulled from the back, those violas are going to my good girlfriend. Now, I made sure to get as much of the root ball as possible because we've been transplanting these violas in her woodland garden, and it is absolutely beautiful. This spring she had a beautiful show from the ones that we put in last year. So we did the violas, and then we also did some pansies, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. It was also some bulbs in there too. I mean, when I tell you it was a good look, it was a good look, okay? Now, for the next little bit, now we're going to head to Home Depot. I have a friend, she is going to be doing a beautiful display of geraniums on her fence. So on her property line, she has some fences, and she took some metal window boxes, and those line her fence line. It is absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to go and we're going to buy a ton of geraniums. She's looking at all the Lowe's stores, and I'm looking at all of the Home Depot stores. So we just split them up for the St. Louis region. An effort that we'll be able to come up with at least about 500 geraniums. Now, a few days ago, I went over there and we planted up the most luxurious mixed geranium containers with all the pinks, the roses, the whites, the corals. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Then in addition to that, we also planted up just plain geranium containers. So similar to like what I had last year, I came in with those coral geraniums, and it was just a big ball of geraniums, just like I just did in my back garden. How all of this came about, she asked me if I wanted to plant up like certain aspects and areas of her garden when it came to her show this year. And I often do things for her, so I was like, absolutely fine. You know me, your girl was on the case, okay? We was on the case, bloop, bloop. Then we also did a section that had geraniums mixed, but then it also had super tunia, some lemon coral sedum. We also used some sweet potato vine, verbena. When I tell you, it is an absolute dream. It is an absolute dream. So to just see those window boxes, those iron window boxes planted up, it is absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to go and we're going to pick up all of the geraniums that we can find. And I'm talking about, we need a total of like 500 plants. So when you live in a big city like the St. Louis region, you have full total access. So we're going to go see what we can come up with, because we need about 500 total. And really we need probably more than about 500. I did try to get her to start all of these geraniums from seed. She never listens to me. And then at the last minute, she wants to throw in a Hail Mary. But honey, you know how it is when you got to show up for your good girlfriend, honey, you just make it happen. So let's get started. I don't see any here at this one. Excuse me. I found this tray right here at this one. So they look rough right now, but here, let me set this down right here. They look rough, but these can easily be cleaned up. And apparently they're on sale for $3. So let's get these right here. They done. See, every time. Now we gotta go on the inside of the store. So I found a ton of white. We can use these white for planting in ground because we're also going to have a ton of these planted in ground as well. Here we are. The hydrangea is completely perked up, standing up. Now, I did go ahead and water this in. If I had not watered it, it still would have stood up because that is the behavior of a big leaf hydrangea or a macrophylla hydrangea. Now, one thing to also keep in mind with these is with the iron supplements. The iron supplements are not going to be instantaneously. So I will have to come in. I will have to do another application. And it's important to do your application now because you want to do it before it gets really hot sun. Because you have the discoloration of the leaves here, they're not going to be able to take as much sun as they normally would, and it's going to cause burning. So the sooner I can get this problem corrected, the better off it will be. And last year, the chlorosis was so bad on this hydrangea that we even had sections of leaves that had white leaves. But with the cuttings that we took from this hydrangea right here, they did not show that because they were getting nutrients all along. So everything looks good. Now this is what the flower looks like. This is what the flower looks like. And we have some on the inside as well. So I'm very excited. We're off to a good start here. And so depending on how many blooms I get on this hydrangea, I'll definitely be taking some hydrangea propagation cuttings. And I'm super duper excited. And this how it looks. And also, here's something else to keep in mind, you all. Now, when you get your hydrangea specimen, your hydrangea specimens are going to be smaller in stature. But this is a full hydrangea. Look how large it is. Look how large it is. Look how large it is. I am going to end up coming in and pulling back the rock here. And then we are going to treat it with a little bit of compost here. And it'll definitely help this along. So you can even see it. You can see it real good here. So you have the leaves that are not struggling with chlorosis. And then right beside it, you have leaves that have chlorosis. So healthy leaves, chlorotic leaves.